Jonah Goldberg, Suicide of the West, How the Rebirth of Tribalism, Nationalism, and Socialism is Destroying American Democracy. In Suicide of the West, Jonah Goldberg explores the miraculous transformation of human society that began around 1700 with the birth of novel ideas surrounding how to structure society and government. This book summary delves deep into the roots of this transformation, focusing on the common law system of England, which provided the foundation for the rule of law and limiting the power of monarchs. It also highlights the role of civil society and its participation in governance. This introspective journey will help shed light on the crucial factors that helped shape the modern world, its current challenges, and the importance of understanding and preserving the essence of the ongoing miracle.
The miracle of human history. For the majority of human existence, life was nasty, brutish, and short. However, something miraculous happened in the late 17th century that changed everything. Before the 18th century, people lived on around $1 a day, but afterward, their income skyrocketed. Global GDP per capita started rising ever higher, with no end in sight. Additionally, people also started thinking differently about how to structure society and government. William of Orange's Glorious Revolution of 1688, for example, introduced revolutionary reforms in England like setting clear limits on the monarchy and giving Parliament a greater say in running the country. It was one of the first times in history that the right of parliamentary representatives to govern in the name of the people was established. To preserve the gains of this miracle, we need to understand it. The ingredients of the miracle. The miracle that transformed England into a rich and prosperous nation had its roots in a unique combination of factors including common law, geography, and civil society. Unlike the continental European legal systems, common law limits the power of monarchs and encourages judges to consider legal precedents in making decisions. The country's island geography also meant that its rulers didn't have to build massive armies like other militaristic European counterparts. As a result, English society was more liberal and less concerned about wars. The final ingredient that nurtured the miracle was the society's spirit of individuality, encouraging individualism and free association, which helped establish a solid civil society. The miracle of human morality. The book explores the innate dichotomy of the human psyche, examining both the capacity for moral behavior and the instinct of tribalism. While studies suggest that morality is innate, so is distrust of strangers, proving that inclusion and exclusion are deeply embedded in human nature. However, the miracle is the triumph over human nature and impulses of cruelty that have been responsible for war and genocide. The author brings to light how modern institutions have played a significant role in restraining violence, making it less common than ever before. The book concludes with a thought-provoking claim that if violence had remained as common in the 20th century as it was in prehistoric times, the total death toll would have been 2 billion, making it a miracle that civilization has been able to put a lid on human cruelty. The role of the state. The disagreement between John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau on the role of the state deepened the rift between the two greatest Enlightenment philosophers. Whereas Locke believed that the state exists to protect property, Rousseau argued that its purpose is to defend the collective interests of society. Despite the Founding Fathers embracing Locke's idea of the right to property, Rousseau insisted that humans are inherently good but get corrupted by society. As such, individuals should submit their interests to those of society as a whole. This debate about individual rights versus the collective interest remains relevant today and will determine the future of modern society. The merit of aristocracy. Across the West, anti-establishment thoughts are widespread, and elites are bearing the brunt. However, there's nothing inherently wrong with elitism. In fact, it can be meritocratic. Aristocracy, in its real sense, chooses members based on their abilities, rather than inherited titles. Even aristocracies can be beneficial to society, just like Cornelius Vanderbilt, who built the U.S.'s first railroads. However, elites need to be checked to prevent them from becoming too powerful, as occurred in the Republic of Venice. A system of checks and balances like the US with its 3 equal branches of government can ensure proper regulations and safeguards. Nonetheless, American ruling classes have become less meritocratic with time. America's administrative state, a threat to democracy. In 1913, President Wilson created the administrative state, which has become fundamentally undemocratic, illiberal, and responsible for America's decline. The administrative state, staffed by unelected bureaucrats appointed by the president, creates a class of people above the law. They get away with actions that corporations and citizens can't. Additionally, it throttles innovation and deepens income inequality by increasing regulation of the workforce. Licensing, for example, denies low-skilled workers access to the labor market and hinders economic growth. The administrative state also has political effects, causing disillusionment in the working class and paving the way for the rise of Donald Trump. Identity politics, a threat to equality. The American dream of equality is fading as identity politics is embraced. The rejection of color blindness and the essentialization of identity has encouraged tribalism and division. The consequences of identity politics are not only wrong-headed but also dangerous, as seen in the rise of white identity and the erosion of democracy. The American dream once held that anyone believing in liberty could succeed. Sadly, this ideal is crumbling, and one reason for this decline is the embrace of identity politics, which poses a potent threat to one of the most important principles of the miracle, equality. The notion of color blindness, which is central to meritocracy and the idea that anyone should be able to succeed based on their merit, irrespective of their skin color, is increasingly being rejected. The modern left is waging a war against the principle of colorblind equality, essentializing identity, reducing people to one of their traits, and encouraging tribalism. These lead to political life becoming more divisive and exclusive. Identity politics not only creates divisions but also has dangerous side effects. Many of Donald Trump's voters created their own white identity in response to identity politics. Tribalism is deep-rooted in human nature, and one of the American miracle's greatest achievements was to curtail primal urges. Now, tribalism is back due to identity politics, posing a threat to democracy. The consequences of identity politics are not only wrong-headed but also dangerous, as seen in the rise of white identity and the erosion of democracy. Taming the ugly tribal instincts. As human beings, we are prone to tribal tendencies, but it is possible to control them under certain circumstances. To uphold the values of liberty, individualism, and property rights, we must resist the darker psychology of tribalism. The family unit is a crucial starting point for taming the ugly instincts, thus enabling children to embrace the tenets of liberalism and capitalism. Besides, the cultural and political ecosystem plays a pivotal part, as evidenced by the American Constitution, which is a triumph of political and societal achievement. The Founding Fathers envisioned a written constitution as a safeguard against human nature, and as such, it embodies the principles of liberty, equality, and capitalism. However, adherence to the Constitution is only possible if everyday Americans remain committed to it. Our failure to protect the miracle could lead to disastrous outcomes, where the West may be responsible for its own downfall. Thus, we must strive to preserve the principles enshrined in the American Constitution.
As we conclude this journey through Jonah Goldberg's Suicide of the West, it becomes clear that the prosperity and values we enjoy today are not inevitable. The consequences of losing sight of the foundations of liberalism, individualism, property rights, and the common law system are dire. To preserve the miracle that began around 1700 and is still ongoing, it is necessary for all citizens to actively uphold the principles that brought us here, including maintaining a robust family structure, enhancing cultural and political understanding, and guarding against the rise of tribalism and the erosion of democracy. By staying vigilant and committed to these values, we could secure a better future for our society and avert potential disaster.